While Poland was calculating its next great move, and Germany was waiting for an answer from the isolated Irish government, the conflict, thought to be contained to the north and east, began to boil over in the heart of the continent. A quiet alliance, formed for defense, was about to shatter its own peace by seeking total control of its neighbors. The Danube Compact, forged by Hungary, Czechia, Slovakia, and Austria as a neutral buffer against the rising powers of Berlin and Warsaw, realized its primary weakness, a soft southern flank. To secure itself, the compact needed to control the critical Alpine choke points held by Slovenia. Hungary, the most aggressive member, delivered the demand. Budapest to Ljubljana. The security of Central Europe requires immediate cohesion. We invite Slovenia to join the Danube Compact under the Mutual Defense Article. Your position is vital to continental stability. Slovenia, keenly aware of its strategic value, had already made its choice. It had aligned its defense with the Balkan nations as a member of the Two Seas Alliance, and united also with the Balkan Shield Alliance, created a powerful, battle-hardened, and unified military command of the Balkan nations as its true guarantor. Ljubljana to Budapest. Slovenian sovereignty is not for negotiation. Our security is already guaranteed by existing treaties. We decline your invitation. The refusal was an absolute, immediate challenge to the Danube Compact's authority. It was a declaration that the South would not permit the North to dictate Central European borders. To the leaders in Budapest, Ljubljana's alliance with the Balkan bloc represented a hostile military threat that had to be eliminated. The Danube Compact's primary rule, stability above all, was immediately redefined to mean control. The leaders of the compact gave the final, inevitable order: military action. Within hours, the compact armies began to roll. Compact columns pushed into Slovenia from the north in a deliberate, two-pronged surge. One axis drove toward Maribor with the explicit aim of seizing the routes that fed into the capital. The attackers moved in coordinated waves, armored spearheads to fix the defenders, mechanized infantry to clear and hold, and artillery firing timed concentrations to break prepared positions. The first contact was sudden. Compact armor crested the low ridgelines and opened with a concentrated barrage, smoke and dust rising where the rounds struck the outskirts. Slovenian units fell back to prearranged defenses around industrial districts, where narrow streets and constrained approaches blunted the attackers' maneuver. Anti-armor teams and prepared firing points forced the compact to switch tactics, dismount, clear, resume. Combat in the suburbs became a sequence of sharp thrusts and disciplined local counterattacks. Every street, every factory complex turned into a temporary strong point. For a time, compact forces made ground, seizing warehouses on the eastern fringe and occupying key crossroads that threatened to split the city's defenses. But reinforcement corridors from the south began to feed the defenders. Elements from the Balkan Shield joined Slovenian brigades, plugging gaps and launching counter-pushes that forced the compact to consolidate its gains rather than press deeper. By dusk, the fighting around Maribor had turned into a grinding contest of position. The compact held parts of the outskirts and had pressure on supply routes, yet it could not seize the city center or force a wholesale collapse. Progress had been made, but it was measured, costly in momentum, and insufficient to open a clear path to Ljubljana. While Maribor burned at the edge, the main compact effort drove on Ljubljana with far greater weight of force and intent. Multiple columns attacked across a broad front aimed at the capital's eastern approaches. Armor and mechanized infantry advanced under sustained artillery cover, meant to suppress Slovenian counterfires and sever reinforcement lines. The defenders had not awaited assault passively, prepared belts of defense, layered fields of fire, and mobile reserves from both Balkan alliances awaited them. When the first compact armored pushes struck the outer belts, the initial shock shattered ranks where lines were thin, and for a few hours the attackers punched into the approaches, taking staging areas and forcing defenders to trade ground for depth. But each compact gain was met by immediate local countermeasures. Defenders counterattacked in force, sealing breaches with coordinated infantry assaults while artillery redoubled its focus on assembly zones. The combat oscillated across sectors, armored thrusts into open fields met with precise fire from anti-armor teams. Mechanized infantry clearing roads were repeatedly engaged by ambushes launched from prepared positions. Supply convoys running forward were interdicted, forcing commanders to reroute and slow tempo. As the day wore on, both sides fed reserves into threatened sectors. Brigades were rotated, fresh batteries brought forward, and the sky above the battlefield filled with the transient roar of aircraft passing through on reconnaissance and close support runs. The compact's plan to isolate and overwhelm the capital met a coordinated depth defense that refused to collapse. Defenders traded space deliberately, falling back to stronger belts, where counterattacks could be launched from hidden reserves. Night fighting consolidated the pattern, limited gains, and equally determined counter-strikes. Logistics strained under continuous sorties, and the front hardened into a serrated line of contested ground. Neither side achieved the decisive rupture it sought. With supply routes taxed and command centers reporting diminishing operational margins, Danube Compact commanders faced the stark choice between a protracted attritional fight and preserving their forces for the greater strategic picture. With the battlefield locked and the Balkan armies holding layered defenses around Ljubljana, the compact elected to withdraw rather than be ground down in a slow-consuming conflict. The offensive ground to a halt. The attackers began an ordered pullback under the cover of darkness, conceding the field and leaving Slovenia's capital in the battered control of its defenders. The leaders of the Danube Compact in Vienna, Prague, and Budapest concluded that the losses were unacceptable. The Balkan army was holding the line, and a prolonged engagement would compromise the Compact's entire flank against Poland. The decision was painful, a devastating strategic failure that undermined the very idea of the Danube Compact as an aggressive power. The final order was issued: cease offensive operations immediately. Conduct a rapid tactical withdrawal behind the Slovenian border. All forces return to defensive positions. The thunder of the guns finally subsided. The Danube Compact armies retreated, pulling their shattered divisions back toward their own borders. Slovenia remained firmly in the southern orbit. The battle on the plains of Ljubljana had failed to achieve any territorial gain, but succeeded in establishing two critical new truths. The United Balkan Army was a formidable and united military power, and the Danube Compact was now a wounded, exhausted, and strictly defensive alliance. In Warsaw, the news of the Danube Compact's bloody retreat was received with quiet, strategic satisfaction. Polish intelligence confirmed that the Compact was exhausted and would not risk a counteroffensive against Poland's eastern border for months. The window of opportunity was open. The focus violently shifted north. Poland, now free from the immediate threat of a two-front confrontation, finally put its full, powerful mobilization plan into action. The command was simple: execute Operation Earthstar. All available armored units were to proceed to the Lithuanian-Latvian border, The Baltic resistance must be crushed immediately. Meanwhile, in Berlin, the patience had paid off. A highly encrypted response arrived from Dublin to Berlin. The terms are accepted. Send the means, covert and swift, to the coast. The fires of the Isles are ready to burn, and London will only feel the heat when it's too late. Germany, having secured its industrial heartland in the Low Countries, now had a new, indirect front against its rival, the United Kingdom, one that would bleed London without requiring a single German soldier to cross the Channel. The German High Command immediately activated a new naval task force to begin high-speed smuggling operations across the North Sea. Berlin to Dublin, Operation Shadow Sword is green. The supply routes are secured. The British Isles must burn. As the Danube Compact tended its wounds, and the United Balkan forces secured the ravaged plains of Slovenia, Europe stood suspended in a moment of extreme tension. Poland was marching north to crush the final resistance in the Baltics, while German-backed guerrilla warfare was about to erupt across the Irish Sea. No one knew what the future held for the continent. The fragile balance was about to be broken yet again, proving that in a world without common laws and alliances, peace was merely the preparation time between wars.